Is there such a thing as too much luck? Is there such a thing as too much fun? Messing around, wondering how it's taken so long. I'm really so strong. It's not too much at all.
Welcome to Too Much with Denise Love Hewitt. I am here today with the brilliant Jimanekia Eborn. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And just to give everyone a little bit of a disclaimer, because we don't know exactly where this conversation is go, but
I
Jimanekia,
don't.
she is a trauma specialist. So I want to give a disclaimer for people if there might be triggering things that come up. So just listen or don't listen, wherever your comfort level is. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and then we're going to dive right on in. Okay. Jimanekia Eborn is a trauma specialist, educator, and strategist with over 17 years of experience in mental health, sexuality education, and survivor advocacy. She is the founder of Tending the Garden, a nonprofit organization that supports survivors of sexual assault from marginalized communities, and the host of the Trauma Queen podcast, which she's going to bring back if I have anything to do with it.
Mhm.
Jimanekia's work bridges care, culture, and systems change, consulting with media, education, and wellness organizations on trauma informed practices and equity driven leadership. She's also the co founder of Cintima, expanding representation and intimacy coordination across film and TV. Thank you for being here.
I sound so cool when y'all read those bios. I'm like, wow, who is she?
You are cool though.
I'm tired.
Okay, fair.
It's
You can be both. You can be cool and tired. I watched a few videos of you and I was like, she is cool because you have a way of approaching intense subject matter. Like you have a sense of humor, you talk about hard things, but it doesn't feel unapproachable.
I'll tell you a trick. I created this in my head because Gemini, Cancer, Aries, but I've always said if you're laughing, you're breathing. If you're breathing, you're present. So that's why I've chosen to utilize humor because it breaks down that barrier and also it allows you to like breathe naturally when you start getting anxious. It just focuses you. It's just a little trick.
I love that. We're just started already, a great takeaway. So I want to start at the base layer. We're meeting all sorts of different people on the level of healing journey on this podcast. And
Sure.
so can you give us a baseline definition of trauma?
Trauma is something that has happened to us that can change the course of your life. There are more than one type of trauma. There is complex trauma when something has happened to you multiple times in different styles, such as like elongated domestic violence or like a one-time harm. And so there's variances of it, and it can affect you continuously throughout your life.
So can you tell us of your story of how you unfortunately became an expert on trauma and how you have transmuted your experiences into something to help other people?
Yeah. You know what's so interesting? I've always told the story about my rape, which we'll get to. And in the last few years, I have really been talking more about really the origin of it all, which was, I'm going to say a hard thing. That's how I like to preface it. So everyone, let's take a deep breath in and out. So I've always introduced myself in this work as being a child of trauma. My mother was murdered in front of me when I was one by my sperm donor. And recently, in the last few years, I've been able to read the police documents and get so much more information about that day. Where then I found out I was like, oh my God, I was almost kidnapped. Crazy boots. No one told me that part. And so he almost kidnapped me and took me away. But luckily, his sister, who had actually left to go get help, got me from him. And then he fled the scene in my mother's car. And that person is still in prison to this day. And for me, I was raised by my grandparents and my mother's aunts, excuse me, my mother's sisters, my aunts. And so I've had such a wide range of support, but also they've allowed me to exist as just like a very unique human. I learned to read early and which allowed me to be inquisitive. Let's upgrade our language. We're not nosy, we're inquisitive. So it
Yeah.
allowed me to be an inquisitive person throughout my life. And I always wanted to help women and children. So I grew up knowing and also watching a lot of Law and Order, all versions, not just SVU. Okay. There are others.
I'm a deep cuts Law and Order person too.
Criminal Intent is let's not forget,
No, no, criminal
there's so
intent,
many.
organized crime, all of them.
Yeah, guys. Now, let's not be fooled. Crimes don't get solved that quickly, but good juice, good info. And so I thought I had to be a detective to be able to help women and children. So I went to school for criminal justice. And while I was in school, I was like, ooh, they're burnout very, very fast. Also, women, not really in the department a lot. Black women, ooh, even smaller. And things started to get a little weird and wild. At 21, I was still an undergrad. I was raped. And the way that I like to tell this is very honest and very direct. I don't share all the details, and if you notice that, you noticed it. Some people don't. They're like, "Oh, you just talk so much." And I'm like, "I tell you what I want you to know, right?" And so I was sleeping when I woke up and someone was standing over me naked with a condom on. And the reason that I say that is because I think there's such a stereotype of individuals, specifically femme identified or women, as we're outside and we're scantily clad or we brought this upon us. One, all genders can be sexually assaulted. Two, I was asleep. So unless they were in my dream, baby, no. Right. So I really want people to focus and understand on it is a power dynamic, it is a vulnerability. I have been with this person beforehand, again noting most of the time it is a relationship with someone that we know. And later I learned language. You know, people think at 21 we're an adult. That's such a joke, LOL. We don't know shit. But I later learned the language of fawning, right? Like people always talk about freeze, they always talk about fight, but they don't talk about fawning in the ways of that it keeps us safe. And sometimes you just go in the motion. I didn't fight him. I went in the motion of it because I also knew him and I knew he had an obsession with weapons. I had seen them and I didn't know his behavior in that moment. Clearly, I woke up and he was standing over me naked. So we're already on different dynamics. So I always want people to have that conversation. And another thing is, I saw him again. Like I also had the thought of was that rape because I had been with him before and not having information and resources, which I'm so glad now 10 plus years later we have so much more information because it was such a startling time. But I did see him again. He actually tried to get me into polygamy. I found all kind of other things. It was just really wild, really wild. And then in 2019 I was moving from one side of LA to the other. If you know about it, I was moving from Echo Park to the Valley. She's a drive. And I was moving into my best friend's house and my phone went off. And another reason I tell this story is because it helped me to create the ways of asking for support. You should get all this in the beginning. And I was getting in the car and my phone was ringing. It was just going wild. I had a Venmo request. I had the and I said, "Ooh, money." My mom was calling me. My manager at the time was calling me. Of course, I went to the money first because get back to them. And it was a Venmo request for 25 cents. And it was the year that he raped me. And it was from my rapist, which every time I tell that story, people go, "I'm sorry, what?" Shut the fuck up. And I go, "It's true." And because I had started already working on myself. So after my rape, I didn't immediately go to therapy. I actually went spiritual first. And I think that's also a conversation to have is often people are like, you should go talk to a therapist. That's not always the best thing to do for everyone. And also, all talk therapists are not trained to work in trauma. That is a specific thing that they have to outsource. So when you are looking for a therapist, ask questions, ask their backgrounds and all the things. But for me, I wanted to get back into my body because I felt so disconnected. I turned into what it looked like a party girl, but I had picked up a drinking habit. I
Yeah.
was carrying a bar in my trunk. Cherry vodka sours was my drink of choice. Ugh, can never.
Never had them.
Disgusting. You're missing nothing. It was super simple. It was vodka, sweet and sour, and grenadine. Quick to the point. Now can never. Ugh, none of those ingredients. Leave me alone. And in that moment, like I said, I needed something. So I went spiritual. I learned how to get into my body. I learned how to meditate. And then I did go to therapy. So I say all that to say, by the time he had sent me that request, I knew that I had 20 to 30 minutes to get back to where I was. Again, if you know, the valley to Echo Park, that's how much time I had. And I got to the lake, Echo Park Lake, one of my favorite places. And I was like, okay, I know I can be grounded by any of my five senses and I can be triggered by any of my five senses. So that was a visual thing. So I was like, physically, let me take my shoes off. I'm touching grass. I got some elote. I'm listening to babies. I'm looking at things and nothing was working. And so I went home and I reached out to my people. I texted and I was like, here's what happened. Here's what I need of you. And everyone was like, okay, please. Thank you so much for letting us know what happened and how we can show up for you. And later I utilized that as a teaching tool, as teaching folks how to show up for us. They want to show up for us. We just don't always know how to do it. And so if you can ask them, hey, Denise, you're my person. You're so good at food. Like, you know the foods. Here's some options in my area. Do a little document. Here's some options. Here's some things I like. Can you just send me that over? Create a safe word, make it easy, and we can flesh that out later. But that's where all of this kind of started. And the flush out of my career really started in between at like 2016. I changed my career to comprehensive sexuality and trauma, and here we are today. So many words.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And one of the things that struck me was that you had such a clear, intuitive sense to start with your body, which
Hmm.
a lot of people that I know, we start with talk therapy and then they learn about somatic therapy. What do you think was the driver? Was it just instinct? Like, why did you know that you had to start there?
I felt disconnected. Like I literally felt disconnected in my body. Like it felt some, and sometimes I still have that feeling like in my hips where I'm like, is my body out of alignment? And that's how it
Mhm.
felt. Like if you ever feel like you have a cramp and you're like, what the fuck is that cramp? Like where did it come
Yeah.
from? That's kind of how it felt. And so I was like, I want to exist. Like I needed to feel present and in my body. And I didn't think talking about it was going to do anything. I needed to do that for myself. And now, I think both are so needed. And I think choose whatever order you need to do it. But I think both are needed to
Yeah.
exist in navigating trauma.
No, it's a beautiful awareness. In college, I took this class. I grew up dancing, so I was always
Mhm.
more in my body, but I took a body awareness class in university, and to this day, I think it's the best class I ever took because it was it's a life skill of checking in with yourself when you're realizing, okay, I'm feeling disconnected. I'm not feeling in myself. And so I just find that really powerful. That was your instinct.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes my body's just like, we're gonna do this thing, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're doing it. And I'm actually so glad I did because I needed to be more regulated than I was. And I think that's also noting where you are in your navigation of your trauma. Again, I was carrying a bar in my trunk. Like I was still working. Like you couldn't tell unless you could tell because it really
Right.
heightened up at night. Like when I would go out, because when you're young, there's a party every day. Now, when you're 30s, there's a party in your bed. You're going to sleep. So, varying degrees of life. But I am thankful that I chose that. And I'm also thankful that I also had a cheat code because I was already studying psychology. And so I think that that also is a key point to make here is I had already really started building these things. I actually started studying psychology in high school. So I started studying
Mm.
psychology at 16 and being able to again really focus on the trauma aspect, I had to change that course and focus. You can talk about psychology all day and there's like a bit of trauma here, but it's not necessarily focused around sexual trauma.
What is your favorite practice to get back to a regulated space?
Mhm. Food. No, yes. Honestly, I'm a big stretcher.
Mm.
I think being able to, like, really slow down and move intentionally, I find that to be really helpful as specifically as Americans, and I'm sure other people listen to you in other places. We're gonna focus on this nice country. Um, specifically here, we move so quickly and everything is go, go, go. So, like, forcing yourself to slow down, that's where that awareness is. And that's like the yay and also like, shit. That's what
Mhm.
that is. But really being able to focus and focus on certain areas like my hips, my chest, my shoulders, these are places we carry a lot of trauma in them. So I would do specific things for that. And I still do. I am a daily stretcher.
Mm. That's beautiful. I love giving people simple things that they can incorporate because
Yeah.
sometimes the work can feel so daunting. And if we just
Hmm.
start with little bite-sized things, we can see it's actually quite achievable daily to get ourselves into regulation.
Absolutely. I think that the ways that people look at trauma, it's, ooh, here we go. I would like to invite everyone to take trauma off a pedestal, the ways that we look at it. So, trauma isn't just one way. So, let's take it off like, well, your trauma is not as big as mine. It's no trauma Olympics. So, let's look at the way we do that. And also, can we take the idea of healing off a pedestal? People go, wait, what? Because the ways that we look at it, I think sometimes is more harmful. Like, if
Mhm.
I'm looking at you and I'm like, well, Denise has it all together. So I should be able to do the same things. And I'm comparing to you. So now I'm not actually focusing on what I actually need because we're two different people.
Right.
You might be at a different part. You might have a different type of trauma. Sure, we might have been assaulted in the same exact way, but it's going to exactly hit us not the same way.
Right.
And so being able to have that information, stop chasing that, I think we do such a disservice if we're constantly on social media and looking at, well, they've done the thing. I should be able to do it. Like, you're where you're supposed to be, and that's okay.
Yeah. And everyone's process is so different,
So
and
different.
even just like the length of shift.
Hmm.
Like I think for me it took quite a long time for me to get to a place where was able to live more in harmony with a lot of my demons. And other people, a couple years into therapy, meet the love of their life, and I'm like, "Oh, why is their attachment working differently than mine?" And then it's not good to do that because we're all just on our own process, and just
Ireland.
trust. Yeah, just trust yours. But there's small pieces of trauma that shape our day-to-day reality. And so can you explain to us how that happens? Because there's
Yeah,
capital T trauma and then there's little t trauma, and we have to understand they're all
sure.
valid.
Absolutely. I think that speaking to the differences, a lot of times that bigger T trauma is going to be things that affect you directly, like car accidents, shootings at like a concert that you're at, or physical assault, emotional, spiritual, religion. Like those are all types of trauma. And then if we think a bit smaller, looking at the news. That's traumatic. Looking at social media, that's traumatic. Hearing secondhand or third hand trauma, that can still affect us. So being mindful of the things that we consume, I think is something that we don't think about enough. Environmental, you might see something and be like, oh, that affects me. It might
Mhm.
trigger something that you've maybe been suppressing. So those are like smaller things. And then I think the things that we don't think about in more like a collective way is things like COVID. People are like, I've never had trauma. And I'm like, so you weren't alive during 2020 to like present day? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, being on a lockdown, being told to be staying in your home and everything, that is a traumatic situation. And let's keep it a buck. People are still struggling. Okay.
Yeah,
Humanity has changed. So being able to think about the ways that we consume and the smaller things that might not necessarily be affecting you directly, but even if it's in your area, if it's in your aura, it can still truly harm you in smaller ways.
that's very helpful. And so you've talked a bit about with grief and trauma, there can be unexpected and surprising fears that surface. Can you explain to us
Mm-hmm.
how to navigate that as a survivor with your past and present parts?
Yeah, I think it's hard because you don't know, right? And that's where anxiety comes from. And I think people are like, I don't know, I'm anxious. Anxiety is a lot of the times it comes from that idea of what we don't know that's coming. So we think of this idea, we create a whole scenario. And so it's similar to that. And the only thing that I would really offer is stay flexible. Like, I can't just be like, I know this triggers me and this is the only thing. We don't always know what's going to trigger us. We don't always know what's going to harm us. We don't know these things, but you can prepare in the ways of knowing and allowing yourself to have some tools prepared. And so the easiest way to think about that is, again, the thing I said earlier is we can be grounded by any of our five senses and we can be triggered by any of our five senses. So if you're able to think about and curate, like even like a little kit, I've done, and I might do that again. That actually sounds really fun. But like creating like little care kits with survivors that kind of connect to all those senses. Like smallest thing, if you have like a sensory touch thing, get you a rock.
Mhm.
They're outside, they're free. Maybe that texture feels good. Maybe you have something smooth. If you are a smell person, go to the mall, get some of those little sample perfumes. If you have one that really comes home for you, or an essential oil, food, sour things snatch you back into your body. So pick up warheads, they still exist, or other things like that. Like get some small candies put in your bag. A playlist, having certain songs that you know. I have songs that I'm like, ooh, that Taking Back Sunday song. Oh, I remember exactly the first time I heard it. And it's very like settling, right? Like having those songs or whatever that felt good. So really going through visual. The easiest visual you could have is your locked phone screen. Right now I have a vision board and we're trying to call some things in, but like
I
put
love that.
something on there that's, thank you. Put something on there that's going to ground you. So being able to go, oh, this is a moment. Get yourself out of that by using those and then build up a support system. Maybe it's you're calling your friends. Maybe it's calling your therapist. Maybe it's taking a break. Maybe it's just getting out of that space so you can regulate. But being flexible, I think, is going to be really helpful. And also, community, community, community. I will say that until the cows come home. There's no cows in the city, so I don't know when they're coming home. So I'm going to keep saying it. So, it's so important. I think that talking about trauma, oftentimes it is a community issue. Domestic violence, a community issue. The ways that we don't talk about it enough, the ways that we hide it, sexual assault, the ways that we question the survivors, the ways that we make excuses for those that cause the harm. Stalking. It's not just fun. He's just following her. She's just following them. That is dangerous. It's not flattery. You know,
Yeah.
these are some of the things that I focus my work on, and being able to be flexible in community. We have to hold people accountable, but also we need to create spaces so they feel safe.
Hmm. Those are such good tips. Once again, simple things that we can do
Yeah.
and be prepared. That's the biggest thing because like you said, we don't know what's gonna be triggering. For me, I had a very
No.
toxic boyfriend when I was 21, and I just pushed it aside, and I didn't even know that I still felt a type of way till I was in therapy, and I was invited to I had set up a friend of his and a friend of mine, and they're now married. And so when I got the wedding invite, I was like, all this stuff was like surface that I hadn't dealt with. And I thought I was fine. Like I had ignored it. It wasn't in my, it was like, I'm across the
You
country. It's all
swallowed it. It
good.
was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I was like, ooh, I was like, and thank God I had a therapist to work that through with. And it was complicated because I just had all these unresolved feelings and issues that I had to then face. And having the right person at the right time radically changed that experience, I think, for me.
Yeah. I think having the right person is so important. Like all therapists shouldn't be therapists. Oop, I said it.
Yeah,
They
mine
shouldn't.
is I won the lottery, truly, I was
Same.
one and
Ah,
done. I was blessed.
yes, yes. Interview your therapists. Interview them. Just do the research on them like you do the research on that person you going out on a date with that you met on Tinder. Get that nosy. Okay, get that inquisitive because we upgraded our language.
Yeah, but also what I did and what more people should do was that this was a friend of mine, her therapist, and I'd seen my friend shift. I'd seen her change. Where I have a lot of friends with therapists. I'm like, you're the same person. You've been the same person for 5 years. Like nothing has really changed. And you're like, you're still doing the same shit. And so I was like, I'd seen this friend like go from being in unhealthy relationships to a healthy relationship. And so I was like, oh, her therapist clearly worked on her. And so knowing that I it was like proof for me that then allowed me to go in and surrender more because I
Yeah,
trusted the process. And so I'm always like, who is your friend that goes to therapy and has changed? You should ask for their therapist because
I
that is
love that
someone
too.
who's good at the work.
That's such a valid point because you're like,
Yeah.
girl, you've been the same for 6 years. That's crazy.
Well, also because half the
Wow.
people are lying to their therapist. I'm like, if you don't show up with radical honesty, you can't really
What's the point?
expect. I know it's like this. I'm in therapy and it's like the virtue signaling. It's bizarre, and I'm not paying that kind of money if I'm not committed to change.
That's so true. But I think that brings up a good point of where we are in society too. It's a lot of people want to signal that they're doing the thing because it looks good because everyone else is doing it allegedly, but they're not doing the work, which is
Mhm.
also more harmful.
And I understand for a lot of people it feels immensely scary, and I don't want to discount that deep feeling, but just on the other side of it as someone who has gone through a lot of different variations of work still doing it, it's just always so much better on the other side. It's like just so much more agency, and that's what I can't drive home to people enough, which is I know you're afraid of what you're going to lose or what's going to change, but there's so much to gain through it.
You know, that was such a good point. A lot of folks that have navigated a lot of trauma and hold on to it is because they're scared of the other side, because they have such a deep relationship with their trauma. They're like, well, I know this. I know how to navigate this. I know what these triggers look like. And if I go to therapy, then what? And so I hear you. I hear you. And I want you to know that we see that and we get it. But boo, come on. There is another side. And it's going to feel so much better. Is it gonna be fun? No,
No.
absolutely not. I tell people that come and work with me, I'm like, "Buckle up. It's not gonna be fun. You're gonna cry. We will laugh. We will have moments. There might be times that you're like, I wanna punch Jimanekia in her face, and that's gonna be okay. But we're gonna push through it because it is hard." And I tell people that it's gonna be hard, and also you're not gonna be healed in one session. People come like, "Okay, came to talk. I did one chat. I feel it didn't work." Did that thing happen to you one time and it's only affected you for one day? No. Okay, there's your answer.
Yeah. It's a lot of time, but it is the best investment I think anyone can make in themselves because it's about
Yeah.
you and you're here living your life. It's your life. So you get to decide how much agency and how much peace you want to have. And that's your choice.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Peace is hard to come by these days. So get it, hold on to it, have a deep relationship with it.
That that part. That leads us perfectly into my next question, which is that with administration run by
Oh,
convicted and alleged predators, let's talk
as well.
about yeah, yeah, casual conversation. Like, how do we even try and find a sense of safety in the current times we are living in? It is very hard to find peace and safety right now. So I'd love to dive into this.
Absolutely. One, it is really fucking hard, and I think we should acknowledge that. The idea of let's just keep going and pushing through sounds wild to me. I think we have to be aware of what's happening and also to be honest about how it's affecting everyone, right? Like, oh, I can make this much money and be fine. No, baby boo, it's about everyone. And it's
Mhm.
going to affect people that you care about. And the wild part is so many women, like the most badass women in this world right now that I know that have changed laws and created legislation and stuff don't have jobs. And so safety looks in two ways, and this is how I always like to look at it. So I want to invite everyone to as well. Safety is two things. It is externally, which is the things that we think about, like, is there a job over there? Am I going somewhere? Is there physically something in my space that's blocking me? And then there's that internal safety, which I think is the part that's has a lot of us shook right now, and the ideas of the mental thoughts. Like, what's happening? Okay, am I going to be able to make rent? Is that going to affect my shelter? Is shelter going to put me on the street? Now I'm spiraling in my head. These are the things we don't think about. Like listening on the news of people that have raped multiple people and they get pardoned. That invigorates other shitty people to do shitty things. That is scary for us. And so the things that I will say is get off the internet and go find community. Go, sure, get off the internet, get off social media, use Google because she's still free for a little while. I don't know how long. Use Google and find people that are doing that groundwork, or go get in your community and see who's doing work on the ground. Because oftentimes what we're seeing on the news now, as we can see in news, in fucking the New York Times, it's getting wild, it's getting real loose with
Yeah.
things. But if you actually go to the people that are doing the work, you're going to get most likely a different story.
Mm.
So if you are serious about these things, go to the people that are actually doing the work, because now the news is fugazi and we can't trust it, which is also a scary place to be in. But people need money right now. People need food right now. People need shelter, and that has not changed. So find nonprofits that are doing this work and see what kind of skills you have that can add to that support. If you're looking for some nonprofits, again, type in nonprofits that work with sexual assault, nonprofits that work with the houseless, nonprofits that work with domestic violence, sports, whatever. We would love to receive you. We don't have money right now. The grants and things, they have locked those up as well. So we are doing this for each other. So
Mm.
lean into like your actual community. And it's not just like people that look like you, but it's like the people that live around you. You don't know who's being affected because a lot of us now stay in our damn houses. COVID really did a number on us.
Yeah.
And the ways that we connect, it's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, did you sneeze? Well, now I got to go in the house and I can't, but like, listen, a sneeze will still fuck your day up.
I will say I do appreciate the courtesy of the text of, "I might be getting sick. Do you still wanna hang out?" I'm like, "I appreciate
No,
that." Yeah, exactly.
I
The answer
don't.
is no. The answer is I do not wanna, but I do appreciate the courtesy, but we just used to be out and connected so much more or be like even now, just the
Yeah.
tendency that most people don't wanna be in an office 5 days a week. They wanna do remote work. There's a level where we got really comfortable being more insular and alone, and which
Hmm.
magnifies what's happening right now, which is as people are losing food
Everything.
and
Yeah.
healthcare and jobs, we're living in a time where we have to, I agree with you, double down on our community, but it's gonna ask us also to try something new for a lot of us, which is a little bit more discomfort, get out your house, hang out with people. And I'm
Yep.
finding myself, even post COVID, I was a very social creature. And then because I DJ, I get paid to go out, and then I just stopped doing things that weren't work related. And
Yeah.
I'm newly forcing myself to go out more. And I can just say at a baseline, I'm happier and I feel more connected. And it feels like work sometimes to get out of my house and go do the thing. But
Sure.
I'm realizing I have deprived myself over the past couple years of something that used to give me a lot of life force energy.
Hmm. Hmm. Also, we should talk about the idea of joy and how this administration doesn't want you to have joy. They want you to be sad. They want you to feel like life is ending. But joy is so powerful. Like, sure, shit is rough, but you are also allowed to have a good day. You are also allowed to laugh. And that part, that is strengthening, that is healing. And as we said, if you're laughing, you're breathing, you're present. Therefore, you can actually consume better when you are in a happier state. Sure, we are navigating, and I'm not saying just say fuck it and just go out and do all the things, but also I did just spend $120 on cannabis yesterday because of this administration. But it's okay, it's gonna bring
Deserve
me
it.
joy.
You deserve
I
it.
do. Listen,
Yeah.
listen. And I want people to know that you are allowed to still have joy in these shitty parts and do that with your people.
Mhm.
Find new people, right? Like there is a lot of people that have been like, I'm not going back outside. It's rough outside. Yes, it is. Yes, and I love a yes and sometimes. Yes, and shit is crazy outside. But also, there's so many fun things outside. There's so many
So
cool
many.
people outside. So many cool foods outside. And if shit is expensive as it is, especially out here in La La Land, things expensive, cook with each other. Go to the park.
Yeah, I walk a lot with friends,
Listen,
and I love that
so
because,
important.
when you're outside, you're looking at the tree or you're looking at birds. There's just these
Oxygen.
simple,
Well, California's air is tricky, but oxygen is good for you.
but it's
The
just
smog.
presence, like nature bigger than ourselves. I find that walking for me is it's so good for the brain. I mean, there's so many studies I talk about walking on every single episode of this podcast. But I get to walk with a friend, I get exercise, I get to catch up, I get community, and it didn't cost me a thing other than the gas to get there.
Yeah. Everything doesn't have to cost money. And I think there's getting back to it. Like, I like just going to sit in my friend's house and we could just catch up and maybe we're catching up on a show and we're just binging together. There's also love and joy and peace and just sitting around your people. You don't have to be doing anything big. You don't even have to talk. Sharing that energy, sharing that space, for some people, that is so refilling. And so remembering that everyone's cup gets filled differently. And if your cup gets filled in a different way, and it might be going to a dungeon, baby, look, we're outside. However you need to do it. Little BDSM, if that fills your cup, you
Yeah.
know, going to an amusement park if that fills your cup. If it's going to a cuddle party, if it's just sitting with your friend and putting your feet in a little pool, whatever it is, like fucking do it. It's wild right now. If those small things get you to the next day, I'm a fan of it.
Can I just ask, I'm curious, are you watching anything good right now?
Ooh, okay, so I'm honestly doing a rewatch of Sons of Anarchy,
Ooh.
and yeah. I'm waiting on Will Trent to come back, which is the author who created that is my favorite author. I'm watching wrestling. I'm trying to
Yeah.
like wrestling again. So I'm watching
Well,
old
yeah, we
school wrestling
know
from like years ago.
We know,
Good luck.
this is fun fact. She's wearing a shirt. You can see her shirt. Cop the shirt. She's a fan of wrestling. I feel like that's an alter ego is like you as wrestler.
People think I wanna wrestle, but don't touch me. I
Okay,
don't
got it, got
I don't wanna wrestle. Don't but I mean, where are we wrestling at? Is it the bedroom? That's a different conversation. But, like, no, don't hit me. Not that way
Yeah,
anyway. Ew.
I understand. I understand. I'm not throwing punches. I am speaking. I'm
I'm
communicating with
cute. I
words.
could be a manager.
Oh yeah,
I
or
could
the referee.
that's a lot of work too, because sometimes they get hit.
Oh, okay, yeah. I obviously know clearly know
See?
nothing clearly know nothing about wrestling. Okay. I wanna talk a little bit about what we talked about, which is that you have currently, for every white man that has lost a job in this administration, 300,000 Black women have been fired. And beyond that, we are seeing just like a deep erasure of history
Mhm.
across the board for women and brilliance and innovation. And I feel heavy in my chest talking about this. How do we reckon with that? And how do we do our part to preserve? I'm very afraid that when this all crumbles, we are going to have to start over. And I want to make sure that we don't lose really valuable pieces of history and innovation in the rebuilding, I guess.
Honestly, I think we're kind of fucked already, right? If we're
Ugh,
just gonna be honest, I think I know. But wait, there's more. There's more. I think that we are fucked in the ways that things are crumbling. But also, I believe in the system wasn't working anyway, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
people are like the system is failing us. No, the system was actually functioning in the ways that it was created. Now it's crumbling for everyone else, right?
Mhm.
For the rich people, it's going good. It's been thriving. Everyone else is kind of screwed. And so breaking it down, I'm interested to see what's going to come from it because it's already screwed up. Our education is done. Who puts Linda McMahon back to wrestling? Who puts Linda McMahon in charge of education? She don't know nothing about also has an open case. Ring boy, look it up. Piss me off. But I think that there's the idea of restructuring and how do we preserve it? We have to somehow get that information. As things are being erased, there are so many people that are right now documenting all these things. So there are people that are doing the statues are being destroyed and taken away and they're doing it very quietly, so also being aware of things that are disappearing in your own environment and being loud about it. Social media is full of people that should shut up, but
Yeah,
also it is full of people that are actually doing the fight. Are they being suppressed right now? Yes. So how can we help? Show up, be loud, share information. If you are a person that is not of the marginalized variety, if you are white, let me just get to the point. If you are white, have conversations with other white people. It makes me uncomfortable. You know what makes me uncomfortable? Racism.
yeah.
You know what makes me uncomfortable? Seeing all these amazing, badass Black women being duplicated, having their ideas stolen from them, and then thrown to the side, which is crazy boots to me. So be uncomfortable. Growth comes from uncomfortable spaces. And I think also being okay with going, everything else in life continues to evolve. And right now, this burn down process, let's think about what we can rebuild in
Mhm.
this. Shitty parts. California, literally always on fire. As we know, California was literally on fire in January, and now people are having to rebuild and
Yeah.
recreate and refathom what family looks like, refathom what housing looks like. And I think that's going to be the same thing that we're going to have to do
Mhm.
is refathom what this country looks like, what education's going to look like, what the workforce looks like. And then we got good girlfriend AI right behind us that's like how do I wipe out everything?
Good
And it's like,
girlfriend AI. Oh my goodness, that's so good.
yeah. Now, do I use her sometimes? Absolutely. I think we all do. There is no way
Yeah,
to get around it,
yeah,
but the ways that it is consuming and moving so quickly, I lost my job to an app in wrestling. My
yeah.
mental health job, they replaced me with an app. And so many other people are losing things because of these apps. But also remember there is nothing that a human can do that is going to be less than what this can do. That connection, you can't recreate that connection and that human support.
Totally. I just often think that every time in my own personal life where like things burn
Mhm.
down, it always births something so much greater. And so I
Yeah.
often look at it like maybe destruction is rebirth, and maybe that's the
Yeah.
opportunity and the invitation. And so much of what I'm trying to do in this podcast is aggregate these new pathways so people have a knowledge bank to go to. So when we do have to build our business differently or learn a new skill, or maybe let's look at like how we want to rebuild our economy to love everyone, not just white men. Like, how do we build a world that looks different? What this podcast has shown me is that we have everything we need. We just have to be able to
Yeah.
implement those structures. Like as you said, people are doing it. The community is doing it. We have the blueprints. We just have to implement them. And so I appreciate that way of thinking because obviously it's very hard for so many people right now. And a
Mhm.
lot of people are very, very harmed by what's happening in very real ways. But I think we can
Absolutely.
also, those of us with more privilege, can start to maybe look at what comes next and how do we get there so that this never happens again.
Yeah, and it's not an individual thing, right? Like, I had to also, navigate that in my own work. It's like, well, I'm doing this, and it's like, you're not the only one that's doing this.
Totally.
Figure out who else is doing this work, and it's easier when you join it. Is it hard to trust people sometimes? Let's be honest, yes, it is. But also, if you don't give it a try, how will you know? There's
Right.
a lot of people that are doing this. We do better in numbers. And I think that is what also has been proven with all the elections and the voting. It is a numbers game. And we need each other to have each other's back. It's not like, oh, well, they have food, so we don't have to worry about them. We don't know what they have. So if you do have food, how do we help other people? Like we need to get back into a bartering system. We need to get back to actually talking to people instead of talking at them. And I think that that will change a lot of things. It's like the same thing I say when people I see work with sexual assault survivors, but don't talk to survivors. How are you creating things for people when one,
Right.
you're not a survivor, so you don't have that experience, but also you've never asked them what they wanted. Like, I created this thing. Don't nobody want that? Did nobody ask you for that? Same thing I feel about this country. We are constantly telling you what we need, and they're like, well, I don't know. Paved roads? No. Let's build a skyscraper. Like, that's not what we said. And I
Right.
think that that's what's happening here. But people are finally getting more pissed off because it's getting real. The scarcity of everything really amplifies. So I am seeing changes, I am seeing fighting, and I think it's time.
I do too. It's overdue, to be honest, in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. For people that are more risk averse or scared to speak
Mhm.
up in a climate that promotes and is pushing you to stay silent, right? That's a lot of what's being made clear, publicly humiliating people, like legally taking action against people that speak up. And
Absolutely.
so for people that are more afraid of speaking up, how can we support them in combating that fear?
Mhm. I think that there's so many ways to show up and help people, and it doesn't just have to be you standing up with a microphone. And I think that there are people that have loud mouths like myself. Let us do that. We love a good tussle. We love to verbally look cute while we're doing it, right? Let those people do that. And I think it's being honest about what you can offer. Like, sit with yourself and really think about, like, what are my skills? What can I offer? Are you a carpenter? You might be able to help build something. Can you
Mhm.
cook? Maybe hook up with someone and help feed some people. That's how you can do it. If you have lost all your fucks and want to argue with your family, oh my God, we welcome that. Receive all of those things. Like, I think that those are the things you can do. You can also start writing anonymously. Ain't shit's real unregulated right now. If you have information you want to share it and create something, create it. This is a very creative space right now. So think about what skills you have to offer to the fight. The hackers have been showing up. I'm still waiting
Yeah.
on them to get my student loans, but do your best, do your worst. But like, that's their skill set. People that are loud and like to rally and get up at 5 a.m. and travel, that's their skill set. People that are training other folks how to stay safe, that's your skill set. You're helping in that capacity, right? Like, people are learning how to make gardens where people are like, I didn't even know I could do this. That is like, everyone can fight in this, and it doesn't just have to be in a loud microphone. It might be having those small conversations. It might be like, hey, rape culture is not funny, bro. As easy as that. It's holding people accountable in the vicinity of you that's going to allow the outspread. Sometimes you try to reach too far and you're missing so many people that are right there that are willing to listen to you. Start at home and then flush out. You don't have to do what the big girls are doing over there. Maybe you'll get there. It's like when people reach out, I'm a survivor. I want to do what you do. You don't know what I do. You
Yeah.
don't know that I've been studying since I was 16 and I have multiple degrees and pieces of paper in debt, but I learned a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
learn and do what you want. And there's so much education out there now that is free. And if you're like, I don't know how to help, again, good girlfriend Google, how do I help right now? What are the resources around me? What nonprofits are doing things? Is there a rally or something that check the news? Like a lot of
Yeah.
people also just don't know what's happening in the world. And when I
Not.
say check the news, check outside where you live locally.
Hmm.
Also, who's paying that news source?
Yeah. I follow a lot of
Also helpful.
independent journalists now who used to be at big
Absolutely.
networks,
Same.
and they do great daily roundups of what's happening. And I feel for me, it's a way to ingest so I can stay informed without being activated and keeping my
Mhm.
nervous system as calm as possible because I want to
Yes.
be an informed person. That's important to me. But I understand for some people, it's everyone taking what you can
Too
take in
much.
sort of deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I get my little email from Erin, my little recap,
Mhm.
and I check in and I follow underneath the desk and I follow the people that I do trust. Find people that you do trust. And if you're like, I don't know anyone, ask your friends.
Yeah.
And if hopefully you don't have shitty friends. If you do, find some new people. But ask who they're following. Just like you want to ask about a therapist, who are you getting your information from? That's
I love that you framed it as a creative space. Thinking about the times we live in, as hard as they are, but as a space of creativity, it makes it my head feels like a little more playful. Like, "Oh,
yeah,
how can this be more creative?" Or, "How can I do this different?" It's very exciting. Yeah,
yeah.
I love
If you
that.
don't, you'll burn out quick.
I don't know if you relate to this. I have a tested theory, an untested
Love this
theory
already.
around change work. But I think about change like there's like stages, same as grief, where for
Mhm.
me, I had to go through a really burnout, radically angry, like intense fighting everybody phase to once I fizzled out, just decide, okay, that's not sustainable change work. So how do we do this better? And how do we create a system that works for me that I can still be of service and not be angry all the time, to hold it a little lighter,
Yeah.
to approach it with a little more patience and thoughtfulness. And I don't have the same, like, 4 years ago, catch me fighting with everybody in the comments. Now I'm like, the work speaks for itself. I don't have to do that anymore. And I don't know if you agree or you feel the same way that the natural progression in the change making space.
I think you have to go through all of those stages as you mentioned grief as someone that's been navigating grief for a good 2 years now deeply. You have to go through all the stages. It allows you to understand, I think. Like you have to navigate anger and I think anger gets a bad rep.
Hmm.
And I think anger is very informational. Anger is a secondary emotion. And once you learn how to really hone in on it, it can be very powerful. And again, it is all informational. Oh, I'm angry. Why am I angry? What am I angry about? Am I really angry? Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm hungry. This sometimes I'll be hungry. Oh, I'm hungry. Okay, cool. So now I've tackled those things and you focus, like you figure out what it is. Oh, I'm angry because I feel unsafe by this. Okay, so maybe that directs how your informed movement next. Oh, it's a safety thing. Okay, cool. It's a food thing. It's a money scarcity thing. Like finding the root of it. Anger is not bad. It's informational.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when you see these people, they're so angry. What are you angry about? Like, what is the thing? Because sometimes I see someone, I'm like, what are you mad about? Oh,
Yeah.
you feel like you're losing control. Okay, cool. We can have that conversation. So it's very interesting to me that we just continue to choose ignorance. Not all of us. But sometimes I get it. Ignorance is bliss. I miss it a little bit. I'm being honest with you. Being an adult and being who I am, I don't have as much ignorance.
Yeah.
And I'm so aware of things. And it's okay to have all of that. You can have an ignorant moment, you can have the fighting moment, you can have the I'm going inside and I'm not talking to people moment. All of it is valid, and in each part of it you're going to learn things about yourself and also learn about the people around you. And again, the ways that I look at it and try to make it fun, as you said, is like, how can we do this in a way that feeds all of us?
Yeah.
How do I do it in a way there's laughter? How do I do it in a way that isn't going to drain me? How do I do it where we make sure that there's breaks involved? How do we do it with care? So it's like questionable, and it that's where you start to get creative with it. Like, there's so many ways that it can be done, and the things that we have learned is information. That shit didn't work. So now we get to be playful and open to new ways and expand.
Mhm. Okay, before we go, I want to leave everyone with
Please.
maybe the most important question of the day, which is
Ooh.
how do we best hold people accountable effectively? What are methods or tactics that you have found really work?
Yes. How do you hold people accountable? What a great question. I think that it varies depending on the person,
Yes.
right? Because you can try to hold someone accountable all day, hence our president, and they just won't attach to it and it doesn't matter. I think being able to continue to have the conversations and being honest and having receipts and being like, here's what it is. And I think being honest about the ways that we lack communication skills. Oftentimes, we have to think about who our receiver is and who the messenger is. And that's where sometimes things get lost. The approach, that might be a thing that we need to look at and being honest about that. I think that that's where we lack is like, well, I tried. I tried to talk to them. Did you try to talk to them or did you try to talk at them?
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you just start talking at me, I'm gonna be like, oh, you got me fucked up. I don't know why you're talking at me like I'm a child. I don't know why you're doing these things. Instead of like, hey, this thing happened. Can we talk about it? You know? And if we are holding people accountable for the harm that someone has caused, we also have to be open to believe that situation and or that person can cause harm.
Mm.
Right? And the idea of, well, they would never do that. I've never seen them do that. That throw all that away. To hold people accountable is to be open to the parts that are unknown about them and to receive that and also to believe people when they say they've been harmed. I believe survivors first. Now, do I believe all women? Do I believe all men? Do I believe all people? No. I can't. And Tarana Burke, who's amazing, said this in an interview once. She was like, I do not believe all people that cause harm. I do not believe all people that call rape. She said, I would be doing a disservice to my people because how many times have white women claimed that black men have raped them or reverse, right? Like, so I believe all survivors out the gate. And then we go from information. So the same things with holding people accountable, believe the people that have been harmed on all fronts. Because again, we're not just talking about sexual assault, we're talking about physical trauma, we're talking about emotional, we're talking about spiritual, we're talking about religious trauma. I believe those people, and then we can move forward. So then we can hold these other people accountable, but you have to believe them first.
Yeah.
Then be open to this person, this organization, whatever, being faulty, being shitty, and being able to have parts that need to be healed on that their own front. And last but not least, I believe that once we do that, we also do a disservice to just locking people up or just throwing the key away, right? Because nothing is going to happen except they're going to sit and stir and maybe learn more bad habits. I believe that we need to also provide them some type of support. Now, it's not me, I can't be working with all the people, but there
No,
is
I
someone to
agree.
do that
Yeah.
work.
And there's a lot of people doing
Yeah,
that work for the record.
absolutely.
A lot of beautiful work being done, and I agree. I think that, yes, people might be go to prison, but they need to be then resourced in the
Rehabilitated.
rehabilitation, and I have seen so many success stories from the prison system of people who have committed to the work and come out and are just, they made a mistake, they'll never
Absolutely.
do it again, you know? Like, we have everything we could possibly need to live in a beautiful, harmonious world.
It's wild.
Like,
It's wild how we have it all, especially
we
in
have
California. What?
no, truly, truly, I'm very thankful to live in this state, and I feel very blessed, and I've always said from day one, if California has to secede, they have to secede.
I'm in. Crazy. Oh no,
Fourth
I'm
largest
floating
GDP in
away.
the world. I don't know. The point is, I agree. I think it's so nice to speak with people like you who are helping make that world a reality. So I thank you for taking the time and sharing your story and your wisdom with us.
Yes, I'm always ready to verbally tussle and share the anger in a different way. I think it's important to always have these conversations and have them with different people like a flag. Unnecessary. Why you got a whole flag on your truck? It's just unnecessary. um, but I love having these conversations because I think that is how we navigate. Black people, we love a good story. We are storytellers. That is how you learn about your family. That is how you learn about what happened down the street. So I am a natural storyteller, and I think that is how information gets passed down.
It's also how people really feel it. That's ultimately what creates the most amount of change is when people feel an emotional attachment to something, then they shift. And that's the
Mhm.
more that we can story tell and meet people where they're at. That's ultimately, I believe, the quickest way to change the world.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it. Thank
it.
you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you do like listening, it would mean the world to us if you could subscribe or review the podcast anywhere that you watch or listen to the podcast. It really helps with the algorithm to share this with the world. I want to give a special thank you to young Spielberg and Sarah Yarkin for their beautiful work on our opening jingle, Dana Bulos for her help with the beautiful art, and to all of you for tuning in and keeping this dream alive. If you want to hear certain topics or from certain guests, please feel free to email us. We really, really want to hear from you and see how we can best support you. See you next time.